Okay, so I've made it back to my slip knot and I just kind of wanted to show you what it looks like when you get to the very end. So a lot of the times you can tell at the very end that we have one more chain that we want to work through, and it's this one here that's right next to your slip knot. So make sure you put a single crochet right there too. Great. We have made it across. Your project will look something like this. It's okay if it's a little bit uneven. So if you notice that some of your stitches are really big and loose and some of them are a little bit too tight, that's okay. It's fine. What we're trying to do is really just get the hang of doing the stitches. The more that you practice them, the more steady and uniform they're going to look. So for now, just try to be patient with yourself. I know in the beginning they can look a little bit wonky. Let's just roll with it and trust the process. Eventually, it will get easier and easier, and those stitches are going to look more and more alike instead of having them being all different sizes. Okay. Now, if we look at the pattern, it says row 2 through 28. So from now until row 28, we are going to repeat the same steps over and over and over again until we get our dishcloth the length that we want it to be. So it says row 2 through 28, chain 1. Then we are going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch, skip 1 stitch, 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then we're going to repeat from where we see those asterisks. And so the asterisks, anytime you see those little stars on your pattern, those are always a section that you're going to repeat over and over again. Okay? And then it says we're going to do that until we get the last 2 stitches. Then we're going to skip 1 stitch and then single crochet in the last stitch. So let's go ahead and start by chaining 1. So if you remember, the chaining was just when we yarn over and then pull through the loop that's on our hook. Okay, now we're going to turn our work. So you want everything to go, if you're right-handed, everything will go to the left side. If you're right-handed, everything will go to the left. If you are left-handed, everything would go to the right. So we turn our work, and now we are ready to do the next step. So it says that we are going to do 2 single crochets in that first stitch. So when you look at your project, we have to remember that we just did a chain. So I'm going to kind of point with my hook here. This little spot right here, right next to your loop right here, that's your chain. And the stitch right below it is where we want to go for our single crochets. So you can kind of look this way here. We're going to go right through here. Now, let me put my hook back in there. Okay. Before we do that, I just kind of want to show you what the project looks like if you flip it around and you look like top down at it. So it looks like we have created a whole bunch of chains. It looks like chains. These are the stitches that we just made. So you want to make sure that when you are going into these stitches that you go through both of the loops on the stitches. So it's a little bit hard to see on this pink. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you right here, and then I'll show you again when I get to that darker pink, and maybe that would be just a little bit easier for you to see. So you insert your hook here. Now, if you look, it almost looks like you have 3 loops on your hook, but this, like the thick one right here, that counts as just 1 loop. So it's all connected. That counts as 1 loop right now, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a single crochet, yarn over, pull through that first loop, so this one right here, like that. And now we're going to yarn over again and pull through both of the loops left on our hook. Great. All right, so now when you look at your project, you can see there's kind of a hole right here, right above my thumb. And that means that that's the stitch that we just went into, and we want to go in there again. So insert your hook into that hole that we've just created from doing a single crochet, like that. Yarn over, pull through the first loop. We've got 2 loops on our hook again, yarn over, pull through both of those. Okay, now we're going to skip the very next one. So if you're not sure what that is or where it is, look at the top of your project again, and we can see those, basically the chains. You can see the stitches right here. We're going to skip this next one that's really close to where we just were. So we're going to skip this one, and we're going to go into this one. So skipping this one, going into this one. All right, we're going to yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and then we're going to insert our hook back in that same stitch. So right there where that hole is, that's where we're putting our hook. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Then we're going to skip that next stitch right here, and we're going to go into this one. So we're skipping this, going into this one. Do 2 single crochets in there. Okay, and then we're going to skip this next stitch, and then we're going to go into the following stitch. Now when I insert it, this is what I wanted to show you when I got to this pink. When I insert my hook right here, you can really see now what I was talking about, where I said it looks like there might be 3 loops on our hook right there because this one is so thick, but we just count it as 1. And also, like, you'd want to make sure that you go through both of them, because if you go through the front one, which this is the front loop, or the back one, it gives the dishcloth a whole different texture. And that's totally a thing. Sometimes you might see in a pattern that says front loop only or back loop only, but we don't have to worry about that today. We want to go through both of the loops. Okay, so we've got it inserted. We're going to yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through both, just like that. And now we're going to insert our hook back in that same hole, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2. We're going to skip the very next stitch. So this one, we're going to skip it, the one that's right next to where our hook is, and we're going to go into this one here. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through the second, and then we're going to insert our hook back in that same hole again, so just right in there. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through the second loop, just like that. And we're going to repeat that until we get to the very end, so we want to make sure we're skipping that very next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochets in this one. Just like that. Skip the very next stitch right here and go into this one right here. All right, I'm going to do another single crochet in there. We'll do 1 more of these together, and then when I get towards the end of this row, we'll come back together. I'm going to insert our hook to this one, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, insert your hook into this next, or the same stitch, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, I'll meet you back at the end of this row. Okay, I am at the end of my row here. So if you read the pattern, it says that we want to do the 2 single crochets, skip a stitch, 2 single crochets, skip a stitch until we get to the last 2 stitches of this row. And then it says what we're going to do is we're going to skip the next stitch, this one here, and we're going to do 1 single crochet in the final stitch. So make sure you don't put 2 single crochets here, we just need 1. So let's skip this next stitch and we are going to do 1 single crochet into the final stitch of the row. Just like that. So we have finished our first row of the textured pattern that we're working with here. And now we're going to do row 3. So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to do a chain 1. So yarn over, pull through the loop that's on your hook, just like that, and then turn your work. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing that we did previously. So we are now going to we're going to skip where that chain is. We don't want to go in where the chain is. You want to go to that first stitch of the row, so just right in here. And we're going to do 2 single crochets in that stitch. So let's insert our hook right there. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. All right, then we're going to insert our hook back in that same stitch that we just went into. Right in here. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Now we're ready to skip the next stitch, and then we're going to go into this one right here. So we're going to skip this one. We're going to go into this one. It looks like that. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert your hook back in that same stitch that we were just in. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to repeat that over and over again. So we're going to skip that next stitch and go into the following one. Right, going to go back into that same stitch for our second single crochet, go right in there. Yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. We're just going to repeat that all the way till we get to the end. So we're going to skip the next stitch. We're going to do 2 single crochets into this one. Just like that. Great, and we're just going to keep repeating that. So I'm going to skip the next stitch and then do 2 single crochets in that following one. So like I said before too, you can always look at the top of your project and it might make it just a little bit easier to see where those stitches are, because you want to kind of look for those little V's or the things that look like chains, and that makes it a little bit easier for you to see where we're supposed to skip and where we're supposed to insert our hook. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get to the end of my row, and then I'll meet you back over there so we can do the end together. Okay, so this, I'm not at the end yet, but I want to show you something that sometimes happens because it might also happen to you. So sometimes as you're working this pattern, you may notice that when you do your 2 single crochets right in a row, I've got my 2 single crochets right here, and my very next stitch right here is kind of hidden underneath these stitches. So sometimes you might want to pull your project apart just a little bit to check and make sure that you're skipping where you're supposed to skip. So this light blue one right here was kind of hidden under this last stitch I did. So I almost missed it. So you want to make sure that you're looking and just really making sure that you're not accidentally skipping too many. But this one right here, it was kind of hidden. I just pulled it apart, but you can see it more now, but that might happen. So just keep an eye on things like that where, you know, maybe you finish your stitch and it's covering a lot of the next one, which means that maybe you would skip this one and this one and then go into like the 3rd stitch, and that could kind of eventually make your project get smaller and smaller, and your stitches would not line up like they used to. So keep an eye out for that. All right, so I'm going to skip this next one and then go into this one here. Okay, I'm at the very end of my row. We have 2 stitches left, so I am going to skip this very next one and then just do 1 single crochet in the very end. Great, we are done with row 3, and now we're going to do another chain. So chain 1, yarn over, pull through that loop that's on your hook, turn your work, and now we are ready to do the next row. So we're going to look right here. You want to make sure that you're not going into where the chain is. You want to make sure that you're going into the actual stitch. So just right in here. Okay, I'm going to do another single crochet in that same spot right there. Yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. All right, and we're going to just keep repeating everything over and over again until we get to the length that we want our dishcloth to be. So I'm going to skip this very next stitch of mine and then go into this one right here. All right, I'm going to do a couple more with you and then we'll meet you at the end again. So I'm going to skip this very next stitch and we're going to go into this next one right here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and meet you at the very end. So make sure that you're still doing that same exact pattern where we do 2 single crochets in one, skip a stitch, 2 single crochets in the next one. So we want to repeat that all the way until we get to the end.